Okay, so let me just go over my trades for yesterday. I actually did a trade yesterday and I posted it and I made money on it, surprisingly enough. Was that the one? Okay. So I wasn't looking for to long Bitcoin yesterday, I think you remember, because I was looking for us to reclaim this higher level here. Okay, it didn't happen. I thought the price could go back, could go down, which is why I drew down, but I didn't realize it was going to go down further, but it did. And then I was looking to take a swing failure. Can you see this trade plan here? This green one with where the entry is roughly, the swing failure here. I was looking to take that swing failure and I took it. I took that trade. As soon as it came up, I took my profit. I think David was also in that trade with me. And I'll just show you, just so you realize that I'm not making it up. Yeah, see that? That was the trade. Entered at 67030. So it's a bit messy here, but roughly around here. Okay. As soon as I saw this swing failure, as soon as you see the price come down and go up, I took the trade. This first expansion, I took my profit. Okay. That was my trade. And I exited at 67923. That was my first to take profit. 67973. Look, I took it up here. See that white line? That's where I took my profit. And that was my trade in Bitcoin. And then the other thing I posted was, this is the reason why you take profit, because you see the way it pulled back. That's why you have to take profit. Once you're in good gains, you take your profit. Look for the next trade. If you're trading, that's what you do. That's how you trade. So I had a runner, and actually yesterday night it was late, so I just did it, and I usually tell David what I'm doing, but he's going to get annoyed because I didn't tell him. I actually took a short as well. I forgot to mention it, David, sorry. And I've closed my short now because look at what's happened. It's just gone down. So that was quite interesting. Get rid of all this rubbish. All right. So I don't know if anyone is interested in trading, but get rid of these brush strokes. Let's keep the information for now because they might become relevant. So the question we have now is, when is Bitcoin going to stop correcting? How far is it going to go, etc., etc. And so let me just clear all of this stuff actually. Sushant, can you check the previous bull model and see how BTC behaves when trying to break past this all-time high? Yeah, I will. Actually, that's a good idea. I've done it before, but I'll do it again. So let's just have a look at the candles. The 3-day candle closed yesterday. And for all intents and purposes, that's not a terrible candle, this 3-day candle. And this new 3-day candle has only just begun. So we just have to see how this candle closes. At the moment, I can see a little bit of decrease in volume as well of descending prices. And that's not a bad sign. So we just have to bear that in mind. It looks as though this weekly doji was a very nice bearish candle in the highs, high volume. This week hasn't ended, and so this week is going to be very important to see what happens. To confirm a reversal pattern, you pretty much need 2 red candles to follow that doji. One is not enough. So we have to see how the week ends. We can't preempt how the week is going to close because no one knows. Okay. Looking at the monthly candle, we're already under the previous month high. Okay. I'm going to mark that off actually, because I think that's quite an important level. This one. PM high. And I also think this the top of this body is an important level too. So I'm going to mark that off too. I'm going to call that the previous month open. Okay, so there's a couple of important levels on a higher time frame. And what you'll notice is that previous month open coincides with this historic monthly level here. You see that? So I think there is potentially higher time frame support where I've got this line marked PM open, and then we'll just zoom in a little bit on the higher time frame just to see what's happening. Okay, let me get my previous bull market. Get rid of these now, don't need them. David says that there's some SFP single print updates. I'll put those in as well, but I won't do it right now. These MPOCs are cleared. Get rid of those. It's clearly gone through this previous range value area high. These single prints have been cleared now. Get rid of those. Let me add those single prints in now quickly, just for the sake of consistency. Six 66525. To 66775. And then we have 67225. Six 7,475. Slightly higher up then. So Sushan was asking about the previous bull market. Very different to the previous bull market because we've hit the all-time high quite early. Okay, but this was the previous high. Yeah. And I'm assuming, and this is the problem. This was before the halving, this move up. This was the halving bull market rally. And then we had this correction. And I like to ignore this COVID drop, to be honest with you. This whole down section, I kind of want to ignore it. I almost think that what should have happened if there was no COVID was that the price probably could have found supports somewhere here, and it could have just continued like that. Okay, so I'm not really fond of this COVID drop. I don't think it's a good idea to replicate, unless of course there is a black swan, which would be really bizarre. Another black swan before Bitcoin halves. It's a bit weird. I'm not expecting it. So arguably you could say that from this pivot that was put in here to this yellow line that I think should have held correctively, worst case scenario, you could argue maybe these lows. Okay, so based on that idea, to the neckline, we're looking at a 26% correction, and to this lower level, we're looking at a 40% correction. So let's look at those two values first, 26% and 40%. And then here you see when it cleared the all-time high, it's a very different circumstance because this was late in the year after Bitcoin had already halved. So you can't really compare it. So we're looking at somewhere between, let's say, 26% to 40%. And let's not just ignore the black swan for now. Oops. So from the high, 23% is gonna, 26% is gonna put us about here. And 40% is gonna put us about here. Okay. And we've only just pulled back 14%. So that's unfortunate. Because we potentially have a longer distance to go. Yeah, that's something to think about. Now let me just have a look at the Elliott waves again, because I think they're quite important. So this is my 3 count. And actually this is the wave 3 of 3. We still haven't had the wave 5 of 3. Right now we're in a wave 4. A wave 4 is an ABC. So you'll be looking for, now that we've had this wave 3, which has gone up in 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're looking for an ABC correction. This is the A. We're in the A now. Okay. Eventually, at some point, the A is going to stop. Now, is it a good place to stop now? Yeah, I mean, it is a good place to stop now. If you want a more flatter correction. So that would be something like this. Okay. It'd be a good place to stop now if we were going to see a flat correction. But you can't just buy. You have to wait for some kind of reversal. And the best ones are either swing failures of pivots, so maybe this pivot, or a sign of strength. You're looking for a swing failure or you're looking for a sign of strength. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking what I want to see is either a swing failure on a higher time frame pivot, or I want to see a sign of strength. What is a sign of strength? A sign of strength is to reclaim lost levels higher up. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the ideas for what a sign of strength could be. And then the other thing to kind of consider is a Fibonacci pull from this pivot here to this all-time high, and do a full fib. So it looks as though we're coming into the 236 on the retracement now. Doesn't look like it's holding. Okay. At the moment, it doesn't look like it's holding, but the day hasn't barely begun. There is a daily level here, so that might offer a little bit of support. That being said, I can't see much support right now. It's something to bear in mind. Potentially, if we lose this 236 level, the next fib level is about 10% lower down at the 382. That will correspond with some back tests of these fib levels as well. There is a little bit of confluence there. The only problem with that is that there's no red candles, so you don't have an order block, a natural order block to buy off. The order block is down here, lower down, much lower down. That's close to the golden pocket. And then you're also looking at some kind of SR flip here, which is on the 618. I'm not convinced that we're going all the way down to 44,000, really. I don't see it, but I mean, you never know. I don't know. I don't see it. Let me just do another fib as well. I mean, look at that. We've lost, or we're losing the local golden pocket right now as well, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that the price would find support for a long trade after we went back above that, not this pivot, one of these pivots back here. But it's not doing that right now. Right, let me just read these comments. Oh my god, 11 viewers. Thank you for joining me. Man Cave, hello mate. I've wrecked almost $1,000 in 21. At the moment I'm studying to start again. Well done. You should build account for $200. Wrecked it with spot or leverage? David is asking. Lost it all in an afternoon because of pump and dump scheme on Reddit. Yeah, avoid Reddit. Huddling. I sold everything yesterday. Now I'm just waiting to buy on discount. It's a good idea. Putin, World War III drop. No way. All right. Okay, let me do something else. Let me just see where my get rid of that. Look at, I like that. Previous range, value area high. Where's the previous range? Up there. There's a naked volume level. A naked weekly volume level. I mean, I still potentially think my original idea, which is just this pivot, and come into that back channel, test it, and then you have an easy entry as well because you have a swing failure on that pivot. I don't know, like, I think people are looking for lower, and that's always when people get get left behind because they just keep on waiting for lower, 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 and it never comes. And so sometimes the price front runs lower levels. So even though potentially maybe some people are thinking about 54,000 or 50,000, there's a really nice pivot here that can be a good place for the price to reverse, because you're going to expect there to be a lot of liquidity at that pivot. And so I think it'll be good to see how that pivot reacts first. This, okay, so I've got an idea, okay? I had that trade plan from before. That. I have a little bit of an idea. This range. Okay. So let's just think about signs of strength first, because that's the easier one to do. Okay. I think a sign of strength is reclaiming a lost level, and the price is kind of easily cut through this area, and it is a little bit of an SR flip. You can see here it was a little bit of an SR flip. The price reacted there. There was a reaction here. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see what happens if the price now starts to work its way up, if you get a reaction for continuation there. Okay. If we don't, and you just reclaim that, then you could probably long that, probably. And so that, for me, that would be like an interesting sign of strength, potentially. That's when you're going to know. Where's my local volume range? Yeah. I think that would be really a good place to know where I've got all of these red lines. And effectively, just to clear it up, let me just do a new range pull as well. So we've lost the value area, you see that? That's the range. And we're underneath the value area now. We've just completely lost it. So that's a sign of weakness, okay? If the price comes back up to that value area, finds resistance, then you could short that. And if you get invalidated and it goes back up, then you would long that. So there's a little bit of a line there to consider, okay? And I think a sign of strength will be getting back in. Now, the problem with trying to get back in is sometimes you get multiple attempts. You see here how the price tried to get back into the value area It came up, rejected once, and then it came up. Was it closed in, it exploded, and then it even back tested it. Okay, so getting back in is a sign of strength, and there was a short to be had here with the back test, but as people took profit quite quickly, the price just came right back up. The context was slightly different because there was quite a strong uptrend now, and we've just rejected from the all-time high. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference in our context. If we want to see strength, we have to reclaim this level. There's no two ways about it, and unless we do, then it's probably pointless longing right now. Probably right now it's just, there's no point longing. Would you short? No, you wouldn't short either, because you're just chasing the drop, and it's more like gambling. The only way that you could potentially short now is if we get a little pullback, find resistance, and then you can short, because at least then you have an invalidation. And so if that was to offer itself, if you get stopped out and the price just suddenly goes up, then that's a sign of strength. And that's potentially, that could happen because you could squeeze as well. Like, so many things could happen, and Bitcoin always does what people don't expect. So I think that's quite an important line. And if the price was to get back up there, you basically have a short and a long, depending on whether we can reclaim it as strength, as a sign of strength, or whether we reject as continuation for the downwards move. Okay, and you just have to see how the price reacts if the price does go back up to that area of interest. Okay, I think that would be really important. And I think until Bitcoin does that, and if Bitcoin was now, I'm just being hypothetical, if Bitcoin was to go up now, sign of strength, up into the point of control, come down, back test, and continue going, then you'd be looking, okay, that's amazing. Now it looks strong again, because you've just reclaimed the value area. Okay, you've just gone down, deviation from the range, you're back in the range. If that was to happen, you're potentially now trying to make your way back up to the top. Okay, so that's kind of what needs to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, I'm just saying it needs to start getting it into your head that the price is going back to the highs. You have to get back past this horizontal level, and you have to flip it into support. Until that happens, we're not going back up, and it's not far away either. It's only about 2%, 2.5% up. So it's something to look at. Otherwise, you're looking for lower, and I think the next area of interest is probably this pivot here, down here. Just simply because it's a really distinguished pivot. There's going to be a lot of liquidity, and you're probably going to get a nice liquidation event. And if with that liquidation event, if the price does this, then you can enter long. And if the price goes down and it liquidates and it just does that, then you wouldn't, because it just means that there was a lot of selling at the lows, because a lot of people were invalidated, and they were stopped out, or that was where their liquidation level was, and they just got liquidated. And so what happens with liquidations is that the market sells their positions, closes their positions at market. You've got this mid channel, you've got this 3-month low, you've got the golden pocket from this pivot here. Okay, I don't really see the price going through it like that. I don't see it. I actually think we could get a nice reaction there. Because you're into the golden pocket, liquidation. At the very least, you can get a bounce for a trade. Whether that's the place that it reverses, we'll have to see. But there's definitely a trade on the table there. So I already had that trade. Where is it? There. And I already got an alert for it as well. Okay. So I had this bars pattern. I was hoping that we would follow it, but we're definitely not following it because look, we're just dropping down. To follow that pattern, we would have to now consolidate here for a little bit and get back into this value area. Somehow. Okay. So that's definitely an area of interest higher up, and then lower down you've got that. I think see, the other thing you have is this naked volume level here. This naked weekly pot. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. The thing about shorting is this, yeah. Short is exactly what is referred to or inferred to in the name. It's a short trade. It doesn't last long. And longs last long. Longs go for a long time. And in shorts, usually they're quite fast and they're very aggressive. Yeah. So even though like potentially a lot of people are looking at this trade and it's an easy one to have, but it's also possible that you're going to get into yourself into a situation where people take the trade, price comes down underneath that level and it just continues going. So there is a trade to be had and you get a nice bounce and people are like, okay, this is it, I'm going to the moon now. And it finds some kind of resistance higher up, people take their profit and the price just does that and it just heads for lower. So you have to bear that in mind. The only way that you know that this is a more long-term viable trade is if you have a swing failure of a major pivot like this and at the same time you start reclaiming lost levels. So you start seeing strength after you see a swing failure. Okay, that's how you know that the trade could be a little bit more longer term. The minute you lose it, those levels that you've reclaimed, then it goes back into weakness. And at the moment, if we were to just go down like this, it'd be very difficult to reclaim levels because that's the level at the moment to reclaim, this higher one up here. So unless we're creating levels as we come down, and to do that, the way the price needs to move, I'm not saying it's going to move like this, you'd need to come down, create a pivot, you know, and then you need to go down, swing failure, and then you have this pivot. And so then you're creating, then you have a level now. So you follow the swing failure by the reclaiming of a pivot line like that, a local pivot. And so then you think to yourself, okay, we've just reclaimed a local pivot. Now we can probably go up higher, but then you're still into this higher resistance where people will take profit and the price will come back down again. Okay. And so you're still then potentially coming all the way back down. until you form something here, some kind of structure where then the price can figure out what it wants to do. So at the moment, I'm just thinking, even though there is a trade here lower down, it's hard to know whether that's where the price is going to reverse. And we just have to see the reaction. And then the other clue, I think the other clue is looking at the order flow. And once we start seeing the whole market starting to long again, once we start seeing bullish divergences on exo charts, that will be our clue. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for clues, okay? And so I'm not seeing bullish divergence on exo right now on the local time frame, okay? I'm not seeing it. And I'm seeing bearish divergences. So you see how the CVD was going higher and the price was going lower. You see that? So from that pivot there to this pivot is a lower high. And from this same pivot on the CVD, it's a higher high. So that's a bearish divergence. That basically means that people are selling at limit and it's absorbing the buy orders, okay? And because we're seeing bearish divergences, you wouldn't be thinking long now, you'd be thinking short. Even though we're quite extended, you're not thinking to buy right now because you're not seeing what we need to see, which is the whole market to start buying again. And when I'm looking at the OI, yeah, you see that OI is going down, open interest, price is declining, the OI is going down. For all intents purposes, this down move is not a strong down move, yeah? And the reason why it's not a strong down move is because the OI is going down. That means that longs are closing at market. Why are they closing? They're closing because they're taking their profits. They see that we've lost support lines and they're out. They're out of their positions. They're just closing at market. And so what's happening is in this whole move down, all the way from up here, the OI is dropping. See that? And you see here, like, you see how the price is going down and the OI is going up? That was shorting. Very different. That was a really strong down move because you have the OI going up while the price is going down. People opening short positions. They're shorting because the market is bearish. The market became bearish. They started shorting. What we're seeing now in a declining price are longs closing. Yeah. And you can easily see, look at all these liquidation bubbles. Longs are entering and they're being liquidated, and longs are closing. We're not seeing a big short close right now, okay? And you'd see it because you'd see a drop in OI and the price would go up. So in the same way, look, I'll show you. Somewhere, if I can find it. Here. Maybe here? No. Let me have a look. Looks like the shorts aren't really closing. But anyway, you'll get the price go up and the OI will drop. So basically what we're looking for is we're looking for a big short to close. And that means the price will go up and the OI will just drop. It just drop down like in a big drop. We're not seeing that yet. I think that's going to be a really important clue, because what you want to see is you want to see what the market are doing. Right now, the market isn't shorting. It's just longs closing. Yeah. This is just all longs closing. There's bearish divergences in the local time frame, but for all intents purposes, this whole down move is a weak down move. I wouldn't consider this a strong down move, and doesn't mean the price can't go down, right? So I don't know if that's helping anyone. If there's any questions. So we have a line in the sand. I don't know if you want to mark that down. Until we start seeing the price get above that line in this price range, I wouldn't consider buying Bitcoin. Yeah, you want to buy safely, and to buy safely, we have to reclaim at about 64,600, something like that. Just get back above that line, and then you're looking for lower. And I think probably the price could bounce at about 59,000 or. And what you could get, as I said, is you could get panic. And I think that's what we want to see. What we want to see in the market is panic. Okay? And what is panic? I'll explain it to you. Panic is when we get down to that level of interest. Next, is no, like, okay. So where is the area of interest? It's down here, 59,000, wherever it is. And then what you want to see is you want to see shorting into the lower levels. So you want to see big shorts being taken into the lows. That's panic. So if we start making our way down here, lower, 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 and then you start seeing people start shorting, because that's what people do. As the price comes down, the lower it gets, they start shorting, because they're thinking now, oh my god, this is going to zero, and they short. And what they're thinking, what people are thinking is, if we lose this level, I'm out. We're going down. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. And then what they'll do is, as soon as we go down, they'll start shorting the lows here, like a breakout. They'll start shorting, and that's what we have to see. We have to see if we get a swing failure. We get a swing failure and you get a lot of shorting in the lows, then what actually ends up happening is you get trap shorts in the lows. Like new shorts will open, usually big ones. They'll be shorting. You'll get a swing failure. You'll be shorting. Then the price will just come back up. And then you'll suddenly get the price start come up. And all of these people that are shorting will be trapped. And the price will liquidate them, because the price, they'll have to close at market, long at market, and the price will just bounce right back up. Okay, that's what we want to see. We want to see that kind of behavior, and then we can think about, okay, maybe this is the low now. So until we see that, I think it's probably going to go down lower, probably. Yeah, and it's looking pretty ugly right now, and I wouldn't long that. It's looking terrible. Now, if we do get a pullback, you could be thinking to short the pullback, and you have a daily level here. So potentially it might not even get to that mark that I labeled. If we do get a pullback, it could just you could just now potentially somehow come up there for continuation and not even get higher up. Okay, this is something to bear in mind. That's what Bitcoin is doing right now. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is going to have a really negative effect on the rest of the market, and that kind of sucks, because we all want our altcoins to go up. So I think let's just see what happens there. I'm not thinking lower than there at the moment. Okay, I'm not. I was just thinking, let's see what happens here first. Let's see what the price does and what kind of correction, because eventually the price is going to stop, eventually. And then the other kind of area of interest would be where I have this yellow line and maybe into this little range. But the thing is, if you lose that pivot that I've marked, and if you back test it for some kind of resistance level, then you are going lower. You come down here And even if you swing failure and just kind of lose it again and then just kind of back test it and it becomes resistance, then I think we're going much lower. Okay, probably all the way down here. And probably this arbitrary line that I've drawn, which is the last market's correction, isn't insignificant. It's just basically going down to the next level of liquidity, which is down here in this little range where I've got naked weekly point of control and naked daily point of control. That's where the liquidity is. So if you do lose that pivot, then you are going for lower. You're going to head for lower. Okay. Is that possible? Look, everything's impossible in crypto. I'm going to say that every single time. That would be a 30% pullback. This pivot is a 20% pullback. And this is what we're going to see now. We're going to see whether 20% is all that that Bitcoin corrects in the bull market, or whether it needs more, whether it needs 30%. Okay. And that's going to be a really important area of interest because you have liquidity there. So that's kind of the two areas of liquidity that I'm seeing underneath this wick and this little area here. And hopefully the correction is just this: A, B, C. Like hopefully that's the correction. That would be nice. And maybe not even that extended. And then if we do correct like that, we'll just get rid of this. These lines now. Let's just clear it up so it's less messy. Like, I mean, I don't know. It is. If it went down to here, then the golden pocket would correspond with this SR flip. Don't know if you lost that, came back up to there, and then could you go down for further? I don't know, really. I do know that there's no longs now, and I do know that we're probably going to take out this pivot here unless we can reclaim that line. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying right now. Does that make sense? That's Bitcoin. And then for me, the planned trades are either we go up, backtest this daily level, or this SR flip for resistance, or we go lower and we swing failure. We swing failure this level here, and that's my long trade. And so what I will do is, if I see a swing failure, I'll risk 1%, and as soon as I get to 1% profit, I'll take profit, and that's my one trade. It's really easy. Move to the next trade. Just wait for that. All right, so that's kind of Bitcoin. I think that's all local stuff. I think higher time frame stuff, you can't really look at the 1 hour time frame. You have to kind of go to the daily and the higher time frame, like the 3-day time frame, the week time frame, and have a look at that. And if people are thinking higher time frame, where is a good place to accumulate or buy Bitcoin? Well, the most important thing is that we stop selling. Yeah, if you're looking to buy Bitcoin on a higher time frame, just wait for the selling to stop. And so it's the same thing I say about altcoins. When you see this, you can see selling. Yeah, doesn't mean people are shorting, it just means that people are selling, and right now it's longs closing their positions. Okay, and they're just deleveraging now that the price is descending. Just wait for the selling to stop, and you will hopefully see a reaction on one of these higher time frame candles, that's going to give us the indication that there's no more selling. Let me see down here. Look. So in this little consolidate, oh, actually, look, this is in the. Let's look at this one. This is more relevant. Let me do something else. Actually, let me go to where we were looking before. You almost want to see a green daily candle, yeah, or a 3-day candle. You almost want to see something like this first, and at least that gives you the opportunity to buy that green candle, not put orders on that green candle. Yeah, you almost have to just wait to see where buying begins again, rather than just sell. If you look at where the price reverses, there's always a green candle that forms first. You know, there's a little reversal. There's always a little reversal. Although this one was extended, but there's always a little reversal before the price goes back up. On this is the 3-day time frame, and maybe that's a good place to see. And until that happens, you just have to be a bit patient and wait. And so right now, until you see that, you wouldn't necessarily think I'm going to start buying, because you don't want to catch a falling knife. So everywhere that you look, where I'm looking where there's a little bit of a reversal in these higher time frames, you see you don't catch the absolute low, but when there's a reversal, you see like a green candle form after a red candle. That's like a clue that buying is about to begin again, because now people are buying. Okay, and every time I see that, I'm looking at this, every time I see that, I can see buying. The buying continues, or it just ranges. So it continues, or it just ranges like there, and then it just continues. And you see here, you have this green candle first. Just wait for the green candle, and then until that happens, you probably just be patient. Happens here again, see? Little reversal. You had a lot of reversals here, but the point is that the buying, there was buying, you know. That's what you want to do. You want to wait until people start buying again. Okay. But we'll have a look at all the order flow and exo charts to see if we see a change in behavior. So that's kind of Bitcoin, I think, unless there's any questions. How is that playing out with ETH BTC? Well, ETH BTC is bleeding. Okay, we're underneath the local value area low, so it's looking quite weak actually. And why is that? Well, because BTCD is looking strong, still into resistance, but it's still looking strong. Does BTCD go up now because BTC is pulling back? Is that what this is going to be? Do we get like a crazy sell-off now on BTC, like a killer one? Do we lose that pivot and just go down? If that was to happen, that's going to destroy alts. FYI. It's going to destroy the alts. USDTD, I had it coming into support. It almost missed it, and we're seeing a little bit of pullback on that. That coincided with BTC reaching the all-time high. How far could this go? I mean, it's resisting on 236. It's back above the 236. The next level of interest will be the 382, probably the 50% mark there, because you have a little cluster there. Maybe that's where it can find some resistance. Otherwise, the big resistance is up here, the golden pocket with this previous pivot. That's the big resistance on USDT as it goes back up. If it managed to get back up, that's where it'll probably reverse if it's going down again. And potentially what you're looking at USDT is a lower high to form now on USDT. Okay, so I'm not thinking anything other than we're still good, but we just have to give Bitcoin time to figure itself out. And then when you're looking at the market structure, I mean, if you take out that low, that's a lower low, right? Because you went from higher lows, these are higher highs. If we come down here, we're taking out that low, that's a lower low. Okay, and then the next target will be a lower high. Yeah, that's what you'll be looking for. And then another lower low. That will be a change of daily market structure. So until you see that, we still have to think that the low is being held as a higher low, and we have to see what happens afterwards. Because the other thing is that if you look at this, I want to show you, we were making higher highs here, we were making higher lows, and then the price came down, it took out this low, and it made a lower low here. Okay, and then as the price was coming up, it was trying to make a lower high, but then you had this crazy pump and it just made a higher high. Okay, and so effectively what happened was, even though you were forming the beginning of a bearish market structure on a daily time frame, there was no confirmation, and this new high that was made confirm this pivot as the higher low, and all of these intermediary pivots are potentially then ignored. Okay, and so therefore it's like that. And right now this is the pivot for a lower low. Okay, that's our higher low. We've made our higher high. If we go down, we've made a lower low. That will be the first indication of a bearish change. Doesn't really matter how low you go. Once you've made that lower low, the next thing to be looking for is a lower high. Okay, this tried to do the same thing here, tried to make a lower high, but it just broke out, and it actually went and made a higher high, and it continued, and it just rallied. I don't know if that's going to happen now. Okay, I don't know if we're going to take this pivot now, or if we're going to consolidate. It does look like it wants to, but we're not close enough yet to determine whether it wants to do it just yet or not. But I think it does. So let's just see what happens, and I'll be looking to take that long. And could that be it? Who knows? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll have a look at the price action when it happens. In any case, I think getting back above this SR flip is really important for continuation. So even if we go down now and consolidate and go back up, that still is going to act as resistance. Yeah, and that might be continuation, and then you could be forming some kind of like an ABC like this, ABC, and potentially you could be forming some kind of one-to-one potentially. Let me just see how that would look. Down to the, up to the, that would put us down here into this little consolidation range here at 51,000. If we actually did that, if we went down to this pivot, went all the way up there, came all the way down here for a 1-to-1. And that could be the end of your correction, because that's your ABC. Okay, that will be a good place to accumulate. And there is liquidity in that little lower level, because I've got it here. I did it. See? 1-to-1 would land us perfectly in these naked weekly and naked daily point of controls of this little range. But we'd have to first swing failure this pivot and go up. If we don't swing failure and we make a higher low, that's going to really mess everyone up. It could also happen. But then if that happens and then we do come down, it's going to be quite ugly actually, because then you're looking at some kind of head and shoulders pattern. The problem with these head and shoulders patterns is you'd expect more than the 1-to-1. You'd probably expect it to just keep on going down to the 2. That's what you would expect. It'd be really ugly. All right. This is all speculation. I'm just entertainment value only. Like, I'm not telling people buy and sell. I'm not telling you. I'm just giving you areas of interest, and I'm giving you my own trade ideas. And everyone has to analyze their own risk analysis, okay? Their own risk appetite. I'm not telling people what to do. Just bear that in mind. I'm telling you that my strategy for the duration of the bull market is to buy the dips, and I will continue doing that until I reach my end of bull market cycle target at the highs. Okay, wherever the highs are. I don't think this is it. I just see this as a corrective pullback. I think we're in a wave 4. It's a correction, and I'm still expecting a wave 5, which is a continuation. Okay, and on that basis, on that idea, I was able to tell us that 73,000 was a good place to take profit or to sell, and I actually shorted that because I was looking at my Fibonacci extensions on my Elliott wave count, and there. And now I'm looking for a wave 4, which is a corrective wave, which is an ABC. And then I'll be looking for higher, wherever it comes. Okay, so I'm still following this. And then I'll be looking for alt season. And at the moment, the alts are following Bitcoin. And I've said that in many streams. And when I'm looking at TRVL, I'm not happy that TRVL is being sold. But I don't mind that TRVL is correcting, because that's quite healthy in a bull market.